Hi everyone, my name is Mary, and if this is your first time on my channel, welcome. I'm a meteorologist with about a decade of experience in forecasting, and before that, I was a student, but I was a master's student and did a lot of research and whatnot. So I've been doing this for a while, and I'm making sure that the actual stream is up. There we go. Okay, so it's working. Today I wanted to do a quick little video, but I just didn't really have time to record something. I've only got a few minutes left in my lunch break, so I wanted to make sure to let you folks in Texas know what's going on. So we're doing this kind of a little messy, but that's okay because this is kind of a big deal, and you've already seen some big hail this week, especially on Wednesday near the Waco area. China Spring had freaking gigantic hail, and then there was that poor cow. I don't know if you guys saw that video that went viral. But today, once again, we've got an enhanced risk. You can see that's a level 3 out of 5. And basically, it just means that severe thunderstorms are pretty likely today. Now, damaging wind and the big hail is going to be the big threat again today. And, if you're in Texas, you're already aware that big hail can do big damage and, end up meaning that you need a new roof or even a new car. Anything kind of bigger than a golf ball is going to do a lot of damage. So what we're looking at is big hail, and this goes, all the way from southern Texas there, Uvalde into San Antonio, Austin, and it does include the Dallas-Fort Worth metro areas. But once again, Waco, Killeen, you folks even into College Station, there's a lot of Texas A&M meteorology students that are probably going to be chasing today, but this is what we're looking at. You're in that enhanced risk area. Now, you have a slight risk around Brownsville, into McAllen, into the Houston area, Corpus Christi, up through Tyler, into Denton, Sherman even. The biggest threat today is just plain old Texas once again. Now, if you take a look at the SPC map for today also, there's still that risk also for the East Coast here. And this includes kind of a weird little chunk here of the Appalachians, and then also, the Carolinas down into Florida. As one system exits, we got a new one moving in. That new one is going to be really producing all the stormy weather over, Texas. But the one that's been giving us all the trouble the last couple of days is actually moving out now. It's going to be wet, up through the Mid-Atlantic into the Northeast, but you could see an isolated severe thunderstorm in this marginal risk area in that darker green. And that includes Savannah, it includes Charleston, Tallahassee, down to Miami. And Florida has just had some wild weather this week too. So it's not necessarily over for you folks. We had a tornado. We actually had multiple tornado reports yesterday along the Panhandle, and one city had an EF2, EF3 likely tornado touchdown. So that's what we're looking at for today. Tomorrow, the risk will grow for, South Georgia, Florida Panhandle into Tampa, Orlando, kind of that central Florida area there on the peninsula. So we're not going to be done with that, but let's talk about the timing for Texas, and then we're going to focus on the threat for the Gulf Coast in Florida, which is going to be tomorrow. So this is the HRRR. This is the 16Z because 17Z hadn't finished loading yet, and it looks like this is frozen. Okay, so we're gonna reset this. Okay, so we're about 3/4 of the way through. I think we're good enough looking at the 17Z run. I usually prefer to look at 12Z, but that was a little while ago, so that's usually, I think, more accurate. Anyway, you get some supercells developing there in the heart of Texas, and that's right around Waco area. And I know that area well because I lived there for a couple years. And so this is kind of like in between Waco and Dallas-Fort Worth. This isn't perfect representation of where the storms are going to be. So they could be, a little further north, a little further south. Either way, if you're in central Texas, likely to see some supercells developing. And you see them kind of progressing into the afternoon, 5, 6 o'clock. You see some supercells developing further south toward Austin, toward San Antonio as well. And then it all congeals into a big line that's still going to have a lot of stuff going on with it anyway. And then it pushes toward the coast, and you see this kind of late tonight in sort of like the Houston area, and then also kind of along coastal Texas there, Corpus Christi, you folks. So that's what we're looking at. It's not, a really long, drawn out severe weather event. However, we've got the chance for tornadoes, especially with these little supercells. I would say earlier in the afternoon, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, while you've got the supercells developing, that's when you're going to see the greatest threat for tornadoes. But even into the afternoon, evening hours, nighttime hours, these are going to produce a big wind threat. So I would say earlier in the afternoon, into the mid-afternoon hours, even early evening before sunset, that's when you're going to have the biggest threat for tornadoes and I think really big hail. And then as this congeals into the line and pushes toward the coast, kind of turns into more of a wind threat. And you can see the Storm Prediction Center has, that 5% tornado risk around Waco. That's not a huge risk, but basically it just means you need to watch out for a few tornadoes. However, damaging winds, anywhere from San Antonio up through Waco and very large hail kind of in that same area, that's going to be the concern. And you can see that those risks as well start to kind of wane a little bit as it gets closer to the Houston area, but it's still going to be there. So I would say central Texas down through San Antonio, through, kind of that mid-southern part of Texas, you folks are going to have the biggest risk of those big old hailstorms and all that fun stuff. Tomorrow's risk along, the coast, we've got a tornado risk for Florida, southern Georgia. This includes Dothan, Alabama. It includes Jacksonville, Tallahassee. You got a pretty big wind risk and a pretty decent hail risk, especially along the coast. So looking at the timing for this, it's just a gross day for you folks. This is around noon on Saturday, and notice just like, does not look fun. So this really kind of comes to a head on Florida during the day, and as we go into the afternoon and evening, it kind of just is wet and nasty as this heads up toward the Carolinas through, Alabama, Georgia. And you can see that low pressure spinning, and then it kind of just moves into the mid-Atlantic and northeast, and it's just going to be a gross weekend. Both severe weather threats today and tomorrow. I know we got an enhanced risk today, which is, a little bit more of a risk than that slight risk, that marginal risk. It doesn't matter what risk level you're under. If you're under a risk, you have to pay attention. So turn on those weather radios, turn on your cell phone, have it loud enough to get those alerts, and just make sure you're paying attention. If you don't have a weather radio, there's always a link in the description for one if you want to buy one. Those are a great thing to have, especially if you live in a severe weather prone area. Thank you for watching this live. I hope it helped a little bit, especially if you're any of my folks in Texas. I miss living in Texas. Gosh, I miss the barbecue. It's different than what you have where I'm from, the low country. We're in Savannah, so we got more vinegar-based barbecue. And I enjoy all barbecue. I like the barbecue here in Tennessee. It's fantastic. But gosh, I miss me some Texas barbecue like crazy. You have no idea. Anyway, I love barbecue. So please stay safe. And I'll keep you updated. In the next couple of weeks, probably going to be cool for a lot of the country, especially kind of the eastern half. So I'll try to do a video about that sometime soon, maybe over the weekend. But y'all have a great weekend. Just stay safe.